Hi, welcome to my presentation on my first evaluation question: in what ways does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? Today I'm going to be looking at 3 of my media products that I've produced over the last 6 months. My short film, The Visit, my poster for my film, and also the magazine article that I wrote in reference to my film. As the film theorist Nicholas Abercrombie stated, media producers use conventions to create familiar and safe products which are likely to be successful. I definitely feel that my products predominantly follow typical conventions, not just of real short films, but also conventions of my chosen genre of my film, a romantic drama. I did this through subject matter and also use of characterization. I will first be analysing my film in terms of a 5-part analysis, picking certain sections from the film and evaluating them in terms of 4 technical areas: camera work, sound, editing, and mise en scène. I feel that by commenting on these areas, I will point out what sections of my film follow conventions of real media products in general, and also in terms of my chosen genre. For the first frame, I chose the montage of Alex looking around the bedroom. I use sad music here to heighten the emotion, and also Foley sounds and the use of a high pass in the jazz music to create a realistic diegetic sound atmosphere in the next room to suggest a party. The use of mise en scène in this scene, such as the props of the photographs on the wall and also the photo on the bedside table, signifies to the audience sentimentality, which is typical of romantic dramas, using objects to create significance and heighten emotions. The use of camera in the shot makes him seem discluded, minimised, and also isolated. I did this on purpose so I could signify to the audience through a metaphor that he was squeezing his way into the party and society and also trying to fit in with June's friends. This heightens the theme of also social realism, the audience being able to relate to Alex and feel sympathy for him. I used jazz music here to create a pretentious theme and atmosphere, giving away unspoken themes in the film, such as feeling isolated and different from everyone else. A common convention within short films is for the music to either suit the mood of the protagonist or be deliberately opposite to create an interesting contradiction. For the third frame that I chose in order to demonstrate how my short film was conventional to real media products is when I used a pan when Alex is getting drunk. The conventional use of a pan is normally used to connect 2 objects together. In this case, the bottles of alcohol with Alex further emphasised through the mise en scène, with Alex taking another drink, showing that he is getting drunk. For my 4th frame, I decided to depict the editing technique that I used in order to show Alex's unsteadiness when he re-enters the party drunk. This conventional use of editing represents the protagonist's mood. Also, the use of the POV shot is conventional as it represents what the protagonist sees. We are experiencing his experience, conventionally used when depicting a character drunk in a film, as it helps highlight their intoxication through editing techniques, unsteady camera work, etc. When he sits down, the use of not including the other 2 girls in the shot creates a feeling of claustrophobia for the protagonist. We as the audience are fully focused on his reaction to the conversation around him. This tight framing is conventional in terms of focusing on the psychology of the main character. The 5th frame that I decided to use to demonstrate how my product is conventional to other real media products is Alex's speech. I edited Alex's speech in a very conventional way, depicting him speaking, with a wide shot to establish the scene and his movement, reaction shots of various party goers to signify to the audience how they feel about Alex's speech, whether they approve or not. Then switching between 3 different viewpoints allows the audience to dissect the experience and see how the protagonist is acting in the environment, as well as the reactions. I decided to decrease the volume of the music significantly in this scene because I wanted to show the seriousness of the situation. The sound is no longer necessary to depict Alex's internal emotions. He is being honest, outwards, therefore music is not needed. Something unconventional that I used in the scene, however, was the change from black and white to colour. I wanted to do this so I could represent him trying to communicate with the audience, trying to make them see the world as he sees it, one that is vastly different from their own. This is unconventional, as conventional films will normally stick in either black and white or colour as a style preference rather than something to be used as a tool for emotional impact. Overall, my film has employed most conventional techniques to create a film that easily communicates its plot and purpose. Through my research of other film texts, I analyse how films enjoy various editing techniques and camera work to portray meaning and make it easy for the audience to understand what is going on. In terms of conventions in the structure, I think I stayed within the conventions of the short film structure. I introduced minimal amounts of characters, Alex and June, and immediately established their relationship in the first scene when Alex goes to kiss June and she rejects him. I also kept within one location, so the audience can easily follow the events and understand the concept of the story and the themes explored, as well as keeping a certain tension to the film of it being in one place. I also restricted it into one time frame, one evening, so it is an intense experience where lots of events happen and the audience is always interested and doesn't become lost and confused with multiple days' worth of events introduced in a short space of time. I also conventionally employed the use of pity, fear, and catharsis introduced by Aristotle. We feel sorry for Alex when he is being excluded, fear when he makes his speech, and experience catharsis in the fight between him and June at the end of the film. I also ended the film with an open ending, which is typical of short films and also short stories in literature. We are not sure what will happen to their relationship. We are introduced into a certain section of time where we do not know the past or the future of the characters, just the section of time the audience has been given. After completing my film, the next ancillary task was to create a poster to advertise my film. As I wanted to create a product that was successful and recognisable as a product for my film, I researched various real media products of a similar genre. I wanted to create a product that introduced my characters, the settings, and possible themes of my film, such as in the posters depicted here. But after looking at posters that were highly reliant on the photography of the couple together and the photo filling the poster, I felt that it was too obvious of the genre being advertised. I wanted to experiment a bit and create an enticing poster that was slightly ambiguous. This is when I became inspired by the minimalist structure of the poster from the film The Reader. The use of a simple triptych at the top of the poster with the title simply laid out underneath along with the slogan was very mysterious, but also gave little hints away, such as the 3 photos depicting boys of different ages but the woman remaining the same, suggesting that the film was about time or about her relationships with different men. I decided I wanted to recreate this minimalist design by doing a photo shoot of my character in front of a door. This is a conventional aspect for the poster design, as I am using a photo that is suggestive in the use of objects to create symbolism. The protagonist standing in front of a door, suggesting that he is visiting someone or he is lost. After editing the photo into my poster design, I began to think about how font and colouring can suggest themes or the genre of my film. Looking at other examples such as Atonement, the use of a typewriter font not only connotes to the wartime period, but also the romantic aspect of the couple writing letters to one another and developing their relationship over a long distance. I wanted to recreate this long-distance romance idea to enhance the theme of love and the genre of a romantic drama, depicting the struggle of relationships put under pressure by distance, class, or religion. This use of serif fonts was common in multiple romantic drama posters that I looked at, but the most interesting posters to me were the ones with fonts that seemed handwritten or individual. In a way, my use of fonts subverts the traditional media products of posters, as more indie films would be more experimental with the themes that they wanted to portray with their font. I felt that my use of colouring for my poster is also quite subversive of traditional romantic drama posters. Even though I researched many that focused on lighter colours that reflected nature, a traditional romantic setting where love blossoms, I felt inspired by the poster of Blue Valentine, a romantic drama that was more serious and depicted a darker, more troublesome relationship, using black as the predominant colour to create a jarring effect. The use of grey in my poster can also be seen as unconventional and jarring, as one would not immediately assume that my film was going to be exploring a romantic relationship. My conventional use of a billing block also connotes that of real media products. Again, I wanted to create something as realistic as possible. Therefore, I employed the professional-looking font to create a billing block crediting my crew and actors. I also included critics' quotes, symbols, and a slogan to communicate the themes of my film, in this case, long-distance relationships and how that affects people. I felt that all of these contributions were conventional in a real poster for a film, signifying to the audience how successful my film is according to critics, with the symbols of awards that my film had been nominated for or won. For the next ancillary product, my magazine review, I followed a very similar goal of creating a magazine article as realistic as possible to real media text. In order to do this, I researched multiple print magazine reviews and analysed them according to what photos they placed in the article, any boxes of information they put in, the order in which they reviewed the film as well. It was typically conventional for magazine reviews to include a photo from a scene in the film instead of a professionally taken shot. Therefore, I followed this convention by using a screenshot from a scene in my film, including my protagonist, and also some other actors that look pretentious in order to demonstrate themes within the film. Another convention that I wanted to follow was the useful box at the beginning of the article, giving basic information about who the director is, the main actors' names, the running time, age certificate of the film, as well as a quick synopsis of the film. This way, the reader doesn't have to dissect the article to find out the information, but can easily access it at the beginning of the article. Therefore, I added this box of my own to imitate this. Another convention that I felt was very effective in Real magazine reviews was the use of a verdict box at the end of the article, encapsulating what the writer thought of the film, again in order to make the article easier to read and dissect, encapsulating the atmosphere for the review instead of reading it in detail. This verdict box was normally accompanied with a traditional star rating out of 5, which I also put in my article. The use of a pull quote and photograph within my article is also conventional for these media texts. It is a nice way of splitting the article up so it isn't too full of information, and the reader's eyes can scan the page for other information instead of being overwhelmed with the text. A pull quote typically is used as a way of encapsulating the theme of the review, often representing the positive aspects of it or the overwhelming feeling the author got while watching the film. The use of a photograph within the article was used in another article that I looked at, and I liked the way the text snaked around it so the reader could see both text and a photograph to help create a more detailed picture of the film. I also found another interesting text box to include, which was another helpful tool for the reader to learn what to expect before watching the film. I placed a text box titled, "See This If You Like," and then added in some information about other films of a similar genre and subject matter, so the reader can compare the films they have seen with the reviewed film, therefore building expectations. After following most of the conventions of including these aspects, I added in small details such as page numbers, issue date, and name of the magazine, as well as my caption for the photo. I felt that the inclusion of all these details helped emphasize my intention of wanting to create a product as realistic as possible. Overall, I felt that all 3 of my media products were conventionally similar to real media products. With my film, I made sure to convey meaning with my music, choice of shots, and use of characterization to stick to the typical conventions of drama films and also comprehensible film language. Additionally, my poster followed the typical layout of including the billing block, names of the actors, slogans, and critics' reviews, but I feel I did slightly subvert the traditional conventions by using a colour scheme unconventional of romance films and a font that is not clear and bold, like other real text that I've analysed. My magazine, I feel, has definitely met typical conventions of real text, set out in a way to appear clear, concise, and easy to dissect. My intention for these products was to be as conventional as possible. I wanted to see how I could adopt and use skills from various applications to create a range of products that would be viewed as professional, but also individual and creative in terms of my creative input.